Welcome back to the Chasing Tone podcast. I'm Brian and back again with Blake Weiland today. And today we actually take an entirely different route compared to what we usually do. So we're going to discuss how we interpret music differently than those who aren't musicians. I take a really hard look at my past and how high school led me to building pedals, how George Lynch and Skid Row played a huge factor in that. We also talk about reinventing education, and I contemplate my future. So with that, let's jump right in. Here's what I'm thinking, okay? Marketing in 2017 in the music business. No, I'm kidding.
Is that what we're going to talk about that again?
No.
Welcome to Blake and Brian's Marketing Guitar Podcast. Marketing consumer...
and Guitar Gear Podcast.
No. Which is, it's like I've tried to tell some people before, in my opinion, like, marketing any consumer good is basically the same thing. It's just, speaking to the appropriate audience. It's basically all you're doing.
No, I actually, I came to a conclusion last night. I was thinking. And
around your fire?
I was yes, you're exactly right. I was sitting around my little fire pit, cooking hot dogs, drinking a beer or two. And, so that's, on a Friday night whenever I'm just chillaxing, as the kids say. That's when I do my thinking. You know what I mean? And kind of think about my week and how it went, where I want to go in life, what is the meaning of life, why are we even here, that sort of thing. And I got to think, I'm like, you know what? I look at most gear companies in general, and it seems like everyone is like, look who I'm hanging out with. Here's what I'm doing. I'm hanging out with this guy, and this guy's famous, so therefore you should think I'm cool. And like that is so not me. I got to think, I'm like, you know what? I'm actually the opposite of that. Like, I don't like doing that because that just seems greasy to me. You know what I mean? Like, I feel icky. Like, hey, guess who I just talked to? I just got off the phone with Brad Paisley. Ha ha! Bet you wish you could do that, don't you? And that's how I feel like when I do stuff like that. I mean, like even when I'm around people, like I'll post a picture if it's like something that I think they'll find relevant. Like here's their gear. But like I don't think I've ever. Maybe one time have I ever posted any sort of like selfie type of thing with, I just don't do that. Anyways, so the conclusion that I'm coming to is that I really I'm more of like I'm just a guitar player. Like that's what I do. I make pedals for me and hope that others like them. I mean, I'm just making stuff that I want. And
is that why you won't build me like the flanger I keep asking for?
That's why you ask me for a flanger, and I'm like, no, you don't need that. Just stop.
I like it. I didn't know that I liked him until recently, but that's not the point.
So yeah, I mean, I was sitting here I was thinking about this a lot, and I woke up this morning thinking the same thing. It's like to me, the whole thing about having gear is just I approach it completely from a person that plays guitar rather than a person who wants to just go hang out with someone famous. I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm wired differently, and I think in some ways that may hurt us because I don't like self-promotion. I mean, I do some, of course, you got to, but I don't like exploiting someone's fame all that much just to make myself look better. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does, but I don't know if it. I think there like with anything, there's varying degrees of this. You know what I mean? Like it's not all or nothing. Like I don't really. I could be totally viewing this with rose-colored glasses, but I can't really think of anyone that's like, I'm so cool, I'm hanging out with Ryan Adams and look how awesome this is. Like it's more like seems
Brian
to
Adams
be
didn't he
like
have? Hold on, didn't Brian Adams have a hit in the '80s?
not Brian Adams, Ryan Adams.
Oh, and yeah, I'm not like I've seen some of their stuff. That's the new VCR pedal, right?
Yeah,
Isn't that
yeah,
the Ryan
and
Adams
to
thing?
me, yeah, he did that, and he's got he's a big gearhead, so he therefore obviously knows a lot of people
I
in the
don't,
gear industry
I
because he's
don't,
a gear
I don't
nerd.
know him. I don't know him much. In fact, I don't think I've never known him at all.
No,
But not
his
my
music's pretty
circles.
good.
Yeah,
He's
not
pretty
really my
good.
circles.
I like his tunes. Except I don't know about that whole Taylor Swift cover album thing, but hey, whatever. To each
Yeah,
his
see,
own.
like you're totally in a whole different element than me. I'm not familiar. I mean, I'm only familiar with them just because I think Josh posted the VCR thing, and I was
Right.
like, and I don't mean to be rude, but I literally thought, who's Ryan Adams? I mean, not to be mean, it's just that's not the circles I run in, you know?
He's well known. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, it
In
seems like he is. I mean, it seems like a lot of people know him.
Yeah,
Uh,
he's good. He's got some good albums. I dig his stuff. Um,
I guess I tend to be more like I don't know. If it was like John Petrucci or something, again, like here we go. Like I guess I look at things more from a guitar playing thing. It's like I want to learn a bunch of Petrucci licks, or I want to, um, you know what I mean? Like I guess I just approach it totally different. But I listen to music differently. Like the music that I'm into is it's all over the place, but it's not really like I don't enjoy music like a lot of people do. And maybe that's I don't know, maybe that's why I actually make gear. Like I enjoy music because I like the way the guitar sounds or I want to learn how to play that solo.
yeah, I mean, I don't think I really listen to music that way myself. Um, I like the whole thing has to grab me, and the entire song has to grab me in some way. It doesn't have to be catchy. Some of the stuff I like is the opposite of catchy. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I like really bad sounding guitars because it fits with the vibe of the song, and it doesn't always. I don't know. Maybe it's because I kind of I don't know. I have a heavy punk influence in
Mm,
most of the things I like, and maybe that's part of it. I don't know what it is, but I do think
right.
that you listen to things differently than I do.
Yeah,
I
it's really weird. I don't
technical guitar playing. I am impressed by it, and I wish I could do it, but I don't care that much. You know, like John
right.
Petrucci. I'm like he's an amazing guitarist, but last time I listened to Dream Theater, I was like 13. So I mean,
you you're
I'm
young
impressed.
pups.
I'm impressed, but I don't care.
Yeah, see, and I still listen to like Dave Grohl. I still
Well,
listen.
see, I like that.
See,
Yeah.
and I'm listening, thinking, okay, there's three guitars. There's one left, one right, one center. It sounds like this one's a Vox. It sounds, you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking it apart in a technical way, rather than I wonder what this song's about.
Uh, okay, I see that. I will do that when I'm trying to dissect something. Like, okay, I'll usually go like listen to the song and like I like it or I don't. If I do like it, then I'll listen to it more than once, obviously. And then at some point, I do get to that level. I'm like, okay, what are they doing here? How are they getting that? You know.
Hmm.
So I guess I have to really enjoy the song. Where I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost sounds like you can just listen to anything and just your brain instantly goes to how are they doing that?
Yeah, I'm really weird
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
kind of
Like
weird.
even as a kid, like in school, like they were talking about who the first president was, and I was off thinking like, wonder why he decided to become president. you know and then that starts like this huge daydreaming thing, and the next thing I know, I'm getting yelled at by some teacher because I'm staring off in the window. But I'm
Oh,
actually,
no, I can
and by
relate
this
to
time
that.
by this time I'm thinking like why do squirrels have fluffy tails?
Well,
So,
my, I
uh,
can relate to that, but I'm a little different because I would go, they'd be like, and this is how, you divide this by 0, and then all of a sudden you get this and that and that, and I'm like looking out the window going, I seriously don't care about this. I wonder what else I can think about that I actually care about. That would be me.
well, I was the guy that literally. Now, keep in mind, I'm in my early 40s. So, when I was in high school, and I didn't go to college, when I was in high school, I, like my day, my every class consisted of me reading Guitar Player or Guitar for the Practicing Musician at that time. Guitar World, like all the guitar magazines. That's all I would do. I would just not do any homework. They'd be like, Brian, are you going to participate? Nope.
I am sure
you
not.
know, and I was like, let's be honest here, teacher. You and I both know you're going to pass me because you have to pass a certain amount of people. So
Hmm.
I'm just going to not cause problems. You're going to give me a D minus, 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 and we're going to live in harmony. I'll go, I'll go do my thing. You do your thing. I'll be here reading guitar magazines if you need me. So
So you've talked about this before. Now, were there any classes that interested you at all? Like
yes,
normal classes, not like music
um,
classes.
yes, I had business math. And
Hmm.
I mean, okay, so let me backtrack a little bit. I had algebra my freshman year. I only had to take two years of math to pass school. So, ooh, that was my stomach. Did you hear that?
Oh, I
It was
didn't,
really
but
loud. It
oh,
grumbled.
gurgle.
Anyways, so I had I barely I got my D minus 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 in algebra, and I'm like, screw this. And
Hmm.
my counselor said, well, you have to take another year of math. I'm like, what's the easiest thing? And he said, business math. And I said, sign me up. And I took it, and it was the whole thing was about you had to have this, you had to start a fictitious business,
Hmm.
and you had to go through like all these steps of the business. And like I loved that class. I got a great grade in that class because I mean I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a business. My business is I'm going to start a record label, you know.
Hmm.
And so like all the exercises for the class were kind of built around this, and everything was. It was kind of like one of those things. Like there really was no wrong answer unless you just weren't giving a damn about what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and it was much more like participatory. I think that's the word. With the classroom and the teacher, and like I loved that class. It's a great class.
Hmm.
Um, and then I had weightlifting. That was an okay class. I had two study halls my senior year, and weightlifting.
Study halls.
Uh,
Study halls are the biggest joke of all time. I'm here to tell you right now. They're the
dude,
biggest.
I got
Nobody
so much.
studies during. I never studied during study hall.
No, but I had a Walkman, so I listened to Dokken all the time, and Dokken and Rat and like all those bands. I was a huge Skid Row fan, so I was listening to Sebastian Bach screaming about something, and I read guitar magazines,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
was and I was in one of my study halls with Steve Townsend, which is the guy on our YouTube videos,
Right.
and so we would literally just talk about guitar the entire time. That's all we did. Yeah, I didn't do jack crap.
I mean, that sounds good. Yeah, I didn't do anything in study halls ever. Like, ever, ever. I mean, maybe if I really had to get something done, like, for a class that I needed to, yeah, to do good in, I don't know. I wasn't quite, I did try to get decent grades, but I purposely picked, once you could pick classes, you had to go through the things you had to go through, but I purposely picked things I thought it would either be easy or I would do good in. So,
Hmm.
like, I did try a little bit, but not as hard as some other people. That's for sure. Um, I'd be like, "Hey, let me copy your
So
homework. Can I see that over there?" Like,
right,
um, but I didn't really, at that time, my whole goal was just to get out of high school as quickly as possible. Because
yes,
my theory was like, if I gotta go somewhere that I don't really want to go, I should be being paid for it. So I should get out of here and get a job as soon as I can. Um, and so that was my whole thing. It was like, just get out of high school as fast as possible. I know that having a diploma would be a good thing, so I'm not going to drop out. But like, let's just get out as soon as possible. So I, took a bunch of extra classes and things, and got work credits and things like that. And, I graduated when I was 16.
Did you really?
Yes, I did. And
You're
then I went to
kidding me.
work.
You graduated high school when you were 16.
Well, see, that sounds better. That makes me sound better than I am. Because I would have graduated at 17 if I would have graduated normal, just because of my having an August birthday and how the school years work over here.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So I would have graduated at 17. But yeah, I was 16 actually when I graduated. So yeah, and then I just immediately went to work full time. It was like, well, might as well be making money. If the man's gonna tell me to go somewhere, I might as well be making money at it.
So the question is, do you read guitar magazines at work?
Well, once these whole smartphone things come around, it was like,
Yeah.
look at this. Well, would you look at that? There's a guitar in my hand that I can look at and study.
Right. So basically, now that I think about it, that's a good way of looking at it. While I don't read guitar magazines every day, I do look at guitar stuff every day. So basically, I now get paid to do what I did in high school, which is not a whole hell of a lot, and read about guitar stuff and make some cool stuff for me to play on every now and then. That's my job.
And then, I'm kind of like your Steve. This is study hall, and then we talk about guitar stuff. Or apparently this episode we talk about high school.
Well, high school and our chase for tone and how it started here,
Yeah.
Like for me, literally this is where it all started, because I just was like, all right, I'm kind of checking out of what society demands of me, and I'm just going to do this. And that's now what I do for a living.
Right.
It's kind of funny.
Well, especially see, what you do wouldn't be really that weird over here. But where you live, it's probably super weird.
Very. And in Indiana, if you were I graduated in 92. So in 92, if you were in high school and you're like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur when I grow up, what that basically meant is that you didn't want to do anything with your life. You couldn't decide what you wanted to do. So you're going to be this quote unquote entrepreneur. And really, I wouldn't have even called it that at that. I mean, I always knew I wanted to work for myself, because it's more about control. I don't like to be controlled. I like to do what I do and suffer the consequences, or suffer the good things and the bad things. So, that's we talked about it before. Not to get in the business side of it too much, but if I wanted to make a bunch of money, I'd go do real estate or something, right? I wouldn't be making guitar pedals. I do it because I like to do it, and I don't know. I mean, that's my sole reason for existing. No, I take that back. I mean, no, that's not true. So my kids who are listening to this, that's not true. But I mean, as far as what drives me from day to day, it's really started from that younger kid in school who felt like he was being forced to go to prison for 8 hours a day. And you know what I mean? And you couldn't say, but I want to learn about guitar pedal electronics in the electronics class. No, we're going to make a buzzer. Well, I got a question, Mr. Teacher. How about we do something that's remotely interesting to each one of us? Then I will actually learn and not completely tune the hell out. How about that? Mm-hmm. Nope, because
we're making a buzzer.
I have to teach this curriculum that's handed down to me in order for me to stay in a teachers union. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of that's changing. Honestly, I think it's
that's an interesting thing. I don't know if it's like this everywhere, but we had a class in high school that I actually really enjoyed. It was called advanced construction. And it was basically, you had to go through all the shop classes, which I enjoyed anyway. So that was no problem. But once you got to the quote unquote advanced construction, which was you had to be a certain grade and all this stuff. I was the first, I was the test class for that. And the teacher was super cool, and he was like, listen, we are gonna go. This is what we're gonna do for this class. We are gonna go do a project in the community, and you guys are gonna figure it out. And go. That was the entire class. We had to go figure out a construction project to do in the community, and we had to figure out how to get the money for it, and how we were going to do things, and all
And
that
you're
stuff.
like, I'm going to construct a guitar amp.
That's what I wanted to do. But like it was still kind of cool. It's like we built like this retaining wall, over it at a park, and we did a couple here, things here and there at this park, which ironically is, we didn't know this at the time, but I live like a third of a mile away from that park now. But like it was just kind of cool to see like a class where it was like, all right, kids, just go do. And then we actually did something positive, which was the craziest thing for a bunch of high school kids to get together and do something other than tear things up, basically.
Right.
Yeah. But it was kind of a cool concept. I don't know how they still, like, we had to come up with the name of it and all kinds of stuff. I don't know if that class is still going, but it was a kind of interesting to be, thought of as like capable enough to do something like that. And the best part, I didn't even tell you the best part. At the end of the class, how did we get our grades? We graded each other.
That's the perfect class.
Yes, exactly. So it was like everyone at least got a good solid B. It was awesome.
Oh, did anybody flunk?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
I mean, honestly, they really were. They had to be like approved to be in the class and all this stuff. So like you had to be not a complete slacker.
So you didn't have kids like me. They're like, I'm going to give someone an F just to mess with them.
No, and I think the teacher was smart enough that like there was a kid in there that was a little bit obnoxious, but he actually was very helpful. And
was that kid you, Blake? Tell the truth. Was that kid you?
No, I said he was helpful.
Oh, I thought you said obnoxious.
I did. I said he was obnoxious, but he was also very helpful. I was obnoxious and not helpful. So.
Oh, gotcha.
I'd just be sitting in the back cracking wise, like, yeah, whatever.
I don't That's what she said. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But
yeah, now we went from that to how about that?
Catch me outside. How about that?
Like,
cash me outside. How about that?
Cash me outside. How about that? Like, seriously, my generation was smarter. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
That's not my generation either. I don't know what generation that is. Whatever a 13-year-old is these days.
So anyways, I don't know where in the world I was heading there, but I was just ranting off the top of my head. So,
I think you were about to do some sort of commentary on the fact that a 13-year-old who talks really dumb and misbehaves can become famous.
Well, that is a very good point. Because, and I'm going to do this with my own kids where, okay, so I'm trying to figure out a way that's going to offend the least amount of people. So if this offends you, at least that means you're listening. So, okay. Good grades do not equal intelligence, right?
Right.
I think it equals the ability to memorize. So I wish my teachers would have taught me, I wish growing up we were taught more to learn how to think. So that way, I would have had to get out of the system to do things rather, you know what I mean? Because they're wanting me to memorize. Going back to the electronics shop, where I'm like, this is boring. Like, I'm into guitars. Can we do something with something that I might? Let's make a simple booster. Let's make some sort of analog. Nope, making a buzzer, making a buzzer buzz. That's what we're talking about today. That way, no one is has their feelings hurt, and I don't have to do a whole hell of a lot of work because all I got to do is read this book, and you know what I mean? So I should be a teacher. That's what we're coming to. That's the point. I should be a teacher.
You're just going to teach everybody Dawkins riffs.
Exactly. Because that's all you need to know. All you need is George Lynch and Skid Row, okay? That's the whole point of this.
But Mr. Wampler, Mr. Wampler, I'd kind of like to learn some of that Nirvana stuff. No, you're learning Dawkins. That's what we're learning in this class.
Oh, no, that would be a great class, though, wouldn't it? Oh, man. It'd be a great class.
What would you do? What would you do if there was a guy in that class who was like, but Mr. Wampler, I'd really like to just learn math. Well, you're in the wrong class, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
You're never going to use any of that crap anyways.
Oh, my math teacher in 9th grade, I think he probably hated me because I made that poor guy's life so hard. He would teach us, something that, like, if you're going to be an engineer, yes, you need to know this, but for your average person, you don't need to know it. And I would just raise my hand, and I got to a point where he would say, "No, Blake, I've never used this outside of the classroom." Like, because I would say, "Are we ever going to need this in life?" And he would be like, "No, I've never used this outside of the classroom, but it's in the book, so do it."
Right.
And then I would copy the smart kids.
So. That's when I check the hell out, man. I'm like, yeah, not doing it.
Not doing it.
Oh, man. I mean,
so I this is Brian and Blake go back to high school. Where did you sneak off to smoke cigarettes?
Funny story. I actually got expelled once, a couple times. No, I got in-school detention because, pulled the Marlboros outside of my jean jacket too soon. I was on school property.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. But I didn't cause a lot of problems. I was just like, I'm getting ready to walk outside of the building. So you get off my case, man.
You weren't smoking in the boys' room.
I wasn't smoking in the boys' room. I was walking out the door and put one in my mouth and got caught. I'm like, dude, I'm like literally walking outside of the building. I'm 18 years old. Give me a break. Not that I think you should smoke, just that I think that there should be a degree of logic applied here. Like, okay, he's not like walking down the hall smoking. It just happens that instead of he wouldn't be in detention if he had waited for 3 feet. Like, just wait for 3 feet after you get outside of the doors. At that time, you were allowed to smoke on school grounds if you're of age, I think. So, anyways, that has nothing to do with it.
It was that way around here up until, basically the time I hit high school. You were still able to smoke on school grounds if you were 18, as far as I know. Or at least I know a whole bunch of guys who did and didn't get in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
like all of us smoke, like all the guys that smoked, we were all musicians. It was everybody who played guitar or drums or bass, we all hung out together, and we would just all hang out in the morning and smoke cigarettes before we went to school.
Well,
and then when we got out of school,
rock and roll lifestyle.
Yeah, man. You had your Metallica patches on your jean jacket. Seriously,
absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's just who we were. And then, of course, there weren't any rehearsal spaces. We were all in bands. We all hung out together, and so we'd go to the city park where they had some shelter houses, and we'd set up and we would just rock out, and then. Yeah, and of course, we eventually the cops would come and they'd be like, "You guys got to turn down." But I mean,
you said turn down for what?
I don't turn down for nothing. I mean, but really, 99% of the time, they're really cool. They'd sit there and listen for a minute. They're like, "Sounds good, guys. You guys are doing good. I appreciate you're not causing any problems. You're just trying to have fun. However, we've had some, we have had some people complain. So I'm going to have to ask you to turn down." So, in that circumstance, I'm like, I get it. Totally cool. Mm-hmm. We'll turn down. So, they didn't really, they were just really cool about it, yeah. Which is a cool thing when you're growing up. You're like, I'm not doing anything, we're not smoking weed or anything. We're just playing Nirvana songs,
mm-hmm. Well, to make this kind of relevant, since we've just talked about our high school experience this entire episode, mm-hmm. I will say in high school, that was the point where, I mean, I plugged in and, I'm going, that was when I learned, why can't I get my guitar to sound like whatever band we were trying to cover? I have a guitar, I have an amp, why does it not sound right? So that was, kind of the first time I really thought about it. Cause like, obviously I learned on an acoustic first, and then as soon as I did.
No, see, yeah, not me. Yeah, go ahead. I'm interrupting though. Go ahead.
Well, I learned on an acoustic because that's what my dad played, and so that was what was around, was acoustic.
Gotcha.
And so I'm like I said, I keep talking about Nirvana, but they were a big deal to me at the time. Well, I still like them, but one of the first songs I learned was "Smells Like Teen Spirit," but I learned it on an acoustic guitar, and going, well, I know I need an electric guitar, so when I get an electric guitar, then it'll sound just like Kurt. And then I got an electric guitar and an amp, and it's like, it's a lot closer, but it still doesn't sound like Kurt. So it was kind of the moment I realized you do need the right stuff, You need to get close. Yeah,
I was trying to make my Crate G40. I was trying to make that little combo amp sound like a big Marshall, and it was impossible. And so I thought pedals were the answer.
I'm sitting here looking at my first amp. It's a Crate XT120R. So
212, right?
What's that?
Is it 212?
212. Yep, 212.
Yep.
We got a clean, we got a rhythm, and we got a solo. And I was always on that solo channel.
You gotta rock the hell out of that solo channel, man.
Oh man, and I had the shape turned all the way up, which really, now I know what that means. That just means it scooped all of the mids.
Right. You just stop scooping the mids. Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it just took a big old ice cream scoop and just whoosh, there were no more mids.
We call that the horns up setting, is what we call that.
I'm totally gonna plug in and see what that sounds like later. It's been years. That's so funny.
Yeah. I was doing the same thing. I had an acoustic, but I had it for about 3 months, and then I literally got mad at my brother and hit him on the butt with it, and it broke it.
Oh, I think I remember that story.
Yeah, I was like 6 or 7 though. So yeah, I just, we've talked about it before. I didn't have the information to know that there was not going to be a pedal that I could buy that was going to change my Crate G40 into an 80A1 preamp with a great power amp and 2 412 cabinets, with one of them totally wet and one totally dry. Just wasn't going to happen. So if it wasn't for that misinformation, that lack of information, I guess, I probably wouldn't be making guitar pedals. So maybe that's a good thing,
Yeah, I guess it all comes out in the wash, right? It all comes out in the wash eventually.
All right. So I guess with that, we'll end today's episode of Reminiscing with Blake and Brian.
Yes, reminiscing about high school.
Chasing the memories.
Nostalgia. Welcome to the Nostalgia Podcast with Blake and Brian. Oh, good times. I'm gonna get my if I get any extra time today, I'm gonna take my first electric that I'm looking at right here, and I'm gonna get her all set up and get her back in. It still plays pretty good. It's got way too heavy of strings on it now. All right, Brian. Well, thanks.
Yep.
I'll talk to you next time.
There. All right.
Bye.
So thanks again for listening to the Chasing Tone podcast. I really appreciate it. If you don't mind, if you have any comments and questions, I really like to hear from you. You hear from me every week. I don't get to hear from that many of you. So just comments, questions, just send it to podcast@wamplerpedals.com. It will come straight to me and I can answer your question, or you can always email Blake at info@tonemob.com as well. And make sure that you check out our Facebook group. We've talked about this a million times, Wampler Pedals Tone Group. If you like, being a part of a Facebook group that talks about guitar gear. If you just like listening to the podcast, another way you can help us out is by leaving an iTunes review and or sharing it with a friend that may like to hear about a guitar gear as well. So thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.